Yeah, we just had a demonstration here for Housing Now. What we are doing is we're demanding that the city open this parking garage, Hargadine Street parking garage, as a temporary emergency shelter space.
We have pressed out that I'm going to be on city council talking tomorrow. So doing a negative action literally 14 hours before that happens is kind of like, do you really want to?
We don't just have, the COVID-19 that, everybody in the nation's, dealing with, but, we've suffered from a fire that's left, thousands of people without homes.
And sound. This is love. As the record plays. Love.
Hi there, folks. I'm Keegan Van Hook, and welcome back to Us As We Are. In this episode, we're going to be covering the recent Housing Now protest that just happened on Monday the 18th at the Hargadine parking structure, advocating for a temporary housing solution for Ashland's homeless during the COVID-19 crisis.
Yeah, sure. I'm Chris with Housing Now, Ashland.
So why don't you tell me what this is that you guys have set up today and what demonstration you're doing?
We're having a demonstration here to address the lack of response by the city to the homeless issue here in Ashland, especially during the times of COVID-19, and putting pressure on the city to open up this downtown parking structure as a temporary shelter space for people experiencing homelessness, and asking them to abide by CDC guidelines around homelessness.
For the record, why don't you introduce yourself and who you are in the community?
All right, well, my name is Joseph Lewis Gibson. Almost everyone knows me as Joe Camel. I've been in Ashland, Oregon since 2014 steadily. I'm still trying to figure out a legal and lawful place for people to sleep as a last-ditch resort to, you needing to be alive. It's like sleep being necessary to life. Right now I'm actually recovering because since the 25th of November, other than about one night every other week, I'm out on a public street corner on a main street. Traffic all night, all day, until just recently I took 3 days and I slept inside. So I'm kind of recovering from being inside for 3 days. Still out of it energy-wise since we've been going since November 25th. And it is now Martin Luther King Day.
My name's Eric Novickis. I've been a community activist for quite a few years. I was a former city councilor with the city of Ashland, so I've been working on these homeless issues for quite a while.
And what makes you passionate about that?
I feel like this is such a wealthy community that it's a situation that we should have addressed long ago. There's no reason that a community with this kind of affluence should allow people to sleep out without a safe place to live.
So why don't you tell me about where we are today, what this location is, and why it's significant to this movement?
Okay, so we're in the Ashland downtown parking structure, the Hargadine parking structure. This is City of Ashland property, and it is 3 stories, and it is mainly used for tourism and for the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. And currently right now, neither of those 2 things are happening.
We recognize that this parking structure here is a 3-story parking structure that is more than adequate to shelter quite a few people. We got a 3rd floor here that is exposed to elements, but would be great for people that are living out of their cars right now, to be able to park and stay up here. We have a 2nd floor here that's enclosed, which would be great for people that are living in tents or people that don't have tents to be provided with tents. It'd also be a great location for the city that's trying to execute this pilot program on tiny homes, the pallet homes.
It actually has an HVAC system that could address carbon dioxide because it's set up to address carbon monoxide from automobiles. So you could have heater units in there without any problem. So it'd be a really good place for a temporary emergency shelter.
When we first came to this structure today, I think there were 2 cars total in a structure that has something like 300 spaces, close to 240 to 300, somewhere around there. Two vehicles. So the city of Ashland is saying we don't have an option. We don't have anywhere for you to go. And we are quite literally right here going, oh my God, here is a perfect place to go. So that's the significance of this current property. It's not being used, it's completely usable, and it's not something that we're gonna end up destroying by making use of. So there's that.
So the city really needs to take some city property like the Hardesty property, or even this parking structure originally was built with the intention of building affordable housing, 4th floor up.
They were going to put like an apartment kind of complex on top of it?
Yeah. So, this place in itself would be a great place for some development of affordable housing in the form of a land trust, so that the housing always remains affordable. The people, that buy the housing, have to sell it at an affordable rate in the future if they ever decide to leave.
With like the new leadership we have, do you think anything has changed?
Yeah, we're really excited about our new mayor. She has taken a really strong position on these unhoused issues. So I think we have really high hopes that we might see either this parking garage or another safe spot set aside for people to sleep legally.
And we will bring in those people who are Ashlanders through and through, who need to come in from the cold. There is no reason why we cannot house the unhoused. No one benefits from the continued trauma of homelessness. We will bring hope where there once was fear.
And then we have a council too that is split right now, but I think with the mayor pushing this issue and it being her top priority as an agenda item, I think we might see some real progress in addressing this issue. So we are excited, but we are continuing to put pressure on them because that's what they need. They need people coming out and speaking out and demanding that they take action.
So in a similar vein, new leadership, at least here locally in Ashland, you've got Julie Akins as the mayor, and she's a pretty outspoken advocate for homeless issues. You've got Gina DeCane, who's similar. How does that change make you feel? Does it give you any hope?
It's a step in the right direction. It's positive and wonderful to have Julie Akins and Gina DeQueen as part of City Council. But America politics has always been a polarity kind of thing. And until you have enough to shift the actual balance, the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4 don't matter. It's always been that way. It's always going to be that way. So those 2 and other people are going to have a continuous struggle for 2 years. 2 years until we vote in more people into office. And even then, that's not a guarantee that we'll finally have enough to make the difference. And that's just an honest assessment of that whole thing. Now, can they start a process that has end results beyond their authority? That's something they can do, and that's something that Julie is already doing with the Racial and Social Equity Board.
We have a progressive mayor, Julie Akins, who's always been an advocate for the homeless community, and she's got a nonprofit that works building tiny homes or retrofitting vehicles into homes.
She converts used school buses into housing for the homeless. Please welcome the founder of Vehicles for Changes, Julie Akins.
I think that she will be or could be a strong voice in persuading City Council to give the thumbs up approval on the downtown parking structure. Now they came to us after we did the week-long encampment back in November. Obviously a public display like that really kind of puts the issue front and center, and so that's a time when city officials are going to talk to you and say that they want to do something. So we're making sure that they're not just just trying to get the protest to stop, but actually have something behind their words. We gave them a good month to do something, and they have not done anything. So we're out here today to put the pressure on them. They're meeting tomorrow night, so hopefully this will get them talking, and hopefully they can, if not tonight, tomorrow, use their emergency authority to open up this place for emergency shelter.
And can you tell me a bit about the demands that Housing Now has, just in general, beyond this particular location?
Yeah, I mean, obviously right now we are looking at a temporary emergency solution, but we are also looking at long-term solutions. And one of our priorities is looking at finding revenue streams to provide homeless services. And we're calling for the city to put a tax on large-scale houses over 2,500 square feet. And right above us, I mean, there's a plethora of mansions, incredible conspicuous consumption in this community and wealth. And there's no reason we shouldn't be taxing these large-scale mansions in order to assure that everyone in our community has a safe place to sleep. One of the things even about this site in particular is that you can build up on it. The city, actually, the council allocated this to be used for affordable housing. So I can imagine a complex above this with micro apartment units, a large shelter, bathing facilities, maybe even a small public library and office space could be very beneficial in addressing the problems that we have and ensure that everyone has housing.
I can almost go over them word for word, the 6 different demands. But as an overview, I have my list of 3 things that I'm going after, my goals. First of all, is stop being criminal to homeless. Second of all, is we need to differentiate what is civil homelessness and what is uncivil homelessness. And the last thing is that we need to acknowledge that home free is a legal and lawful lifestyle choice. Being nomadic, living outside, is a choice you can make. So with that said, the list of demands has 2 things on it that address the first part of it, which is stop being criminal. One of those demands is the open up winter shelter at 40-degree expected overnight temperature instead of 20 degrees. That really, I mean, you're pushing it to the point where it's below freezing before you even say, hey, the state thing that we have to abide by, this emergency condition, we're setting the bar so low that it's beyond what an actual emergency is. So become in compliance with state law.
So, this is why we understand this is just short term. We're not seeing this as a long-term thing. It's, the Housing Now wants, permanent housing. We recognize that there's a shortage of housing, and there's a bunch of loopholes to get into housing. People that are working can't even get into houses in this town. And the city administrator has already came to Housing Now and talked to one of our members directly, and he mentioned that he thought that the downtown parking structure would be a good place to shelter people temporarily, and he can use his authority, especially with the COVID, gives him emergency authority orders to open up city property, and I think this place would be the ideal space right now, immediately to set up this emergency shelter. I believe there's going to be some people that are going to test the waters tonight and pop up some tents. We'll see how the Ashland Police Department responds to that.
It goes a lot further to help people out than it does to throw a ticket at them and get them angry. I actually live in a building downtown that was almost burned down by a homeless person who was very disgruntled and angry. And, I think it's a direct reaction to the response that our community has had to the issues around homelessness. Giving people citations it's not a healthy solution whatsoever. And the courts have ruled as well that it's not a healthy solution. The courts have defined it as cruel and unusual punishment to ticket someone for being homeless and having to sleep out.
So what would a healthy solution look like?
I think what we're talking about, providing services, having social service workers on the street, having adequate shelter and housing, and then redirecting those people towards healthier lifestyles. And of course, we are dealing with a diversity of people with different long-term history of problems, or in this case, it isn't always that situation. We've had a major fire. We have lots of people on the street, unhoused and desperate right now. And, we need to find solutions that address those problems.
Solutions.
Sure.
We hardly ever talk about solutions to homelessness. We talk about problems, we talk about things that are roadblocks, but the number one solution is stop prohibiting us. All right? So here in Ashland, Oregon, we have an emergency winter shelter plan. Right? So you have properties that are on a list that if the emergency call has been made and we have to open up shelter, here is a property that's on the list and available to do so. So we had a group of these volunteers and a property that was on the list that said, hey, we want to open up shelter for people that need it right now. And they were told no by the city. So there was a solution where the only reason why it's not a solution is because the city says no. So number one solution is stop saying no. Second of all is to start allowing and permitting those that say, I have a solution. I am going to take care of this 100% of the problem. That alone is one of the biggest solutions we can have.
We don't just have, the COVID-19 that, everybody in the nation's, dealing with, but, we've suffered from a fire that's left, thousands of people without homes. And, one thing we learned from the Paradise Fire in California is that 50% of the people that left after the fire never came back. Mm-hmm. So, we're talking about, cities that need to respond immediately, and they're already months behind. Ashland is in particular. Mm-hmm. In doing something to ensure that people aren't moving away. And, people are couch surfing and sleeping out of vehicles and sleeping in motels. And, this could be, when they run out of places to go, a place for them to reside in until, they're able to get back on their feet. Not to mention we just have the regular housing problem here. Where people are constantly pushing out of this town because they can't afford to live here. They can't get into apartments because the property management companies have made it nearly impossible for a lot of people to get into homes here. So the city can't just say, well, they should just move somewhere else, because I personally have a lot of friends that have been homeless. Some for years. One friend in particular is a single mom with 2 kids. And, her kid goes to high school here. She can't leave, but she also can't get into the place. And she's working. So, it's a huge injustice that's been happening here. Greed has just got out of control. It's, spread through this town faster than the fires did.
Mm-hmm. So you're hoping that tomorrow there will be some momentum on getting this turned into an actual shelter, and that the council will approve doing that. In the meantime, what is the plan here?
Well, the plan here is to bring some attention, what you're doing is helpful. I believe there's going to be some people that are going to test the waters tonight and pop up some tents. We'll see how the Ashland Police Department responds to that.
So is any word from the police?
No, actually. So here in this location, the parking structure has hours of operation. And this is something that I've tried to stay away from as far as hitting a park. It has hours of operation. Then it's trespassing after that point. It becomes something other than sleeping. So the parking structure here, hour of operation is 2 a.m. until 7 a.m. It's closed. So the police can come at that point without any kind of call or complaint or anything and say, hey, this is something we actively enforce, and so we're going to have to do it. Hey, you got to go.
So based on your experiences so far, do you think that's what's going to happen?
I actually think they're going to end up holding off. I think that they're going to wait until they have actual complaint. We have pressed out that I'm going to be on city council talking tomorrow. So doing a negative action literally 14 hours before that happens is kind of like, do you really want to? So no, I don't think they really will. I also think that they'll ignore any anonymous complaint made. I think it will have to come down to someone making or lodging an official complaint before the city police do anything. And I think as long as we keep it where we've been keeping it, that no one will. There have been several recent studies done as far as like tracking money towards services, towards like Doctors with No Borders and groups like that. There was a whole like nationwide international study done on various different help organizations, nonprofits, things like that. And what they were really trying to look at was the economy of it. You know, if I give this group $1, what am I going to get out of that dollar? And so the smaller the group is, the more you get out of your money. So when you hit nonprofit, grassroots, less than 12 volunteers within the organization, no person being paid, the money you give to them is more beneficial and has more repercussion than the money that you give to Greenpeace, you know? So there's a group that got like $14,000 to $18,000 as like a grant. Here you go, you're a good group, do what you want with this money. And they decided that they were going to target $500 or less grant applications to frontline people only. And so this group applied for that, and for less than $500, they were able to have a big pavilion-style tent, to have a propane heater, propane tanks, all sorts of stuff, just because they are economical. You know, they live on almost nothing, so they know where to go to get things at half the value that a person that has, you know, $80,000 a year. And the way you shop and what you do is way different than if you're living on $14,000 a year. So you give money to someone that lives on that $14,000, and they'll get twice as much out of it. And so that's how we have this.
That's cool. That actually leads me into a question I had. If somebody out there wanted to like try and help Housing Now, how would they do that?
All right. So currently, Housing Now is not really big on being an online presence. They're not really big as far as like opening up to other people's groups, whatnot. Generally contacting them is email or get a hold of one of people in person. So them, not really sure how. Me, looking for my rights, Joseph Gibson, I am hampered by the fact that I don't have internet. You know, not being able to get online and being on a different street corner and being so hit or miss, I haven't wanted to start or set anything up without being able to be on it on a fairly regular and consistent basis. So when people ask what can they do to help, all I can say is for right now, contact any person within city governance that you think you can apply any amount of push to, and do so. Write an email, write a letter. You know, post online of different things that you're seeing. Bring awareness, talk to others. Try to find your own solutions. Ask people, what are things you think should be done? Talk. You know, once I get online access, I would love to have a forum, open speak online thing where we can delve into every topic and we can stick to that topic and get some resolutions happening.
Well, anything else you want to add before we wrap up for the night?
I've actually had a pretty good Martin Luther King Day, and I hope everyone else has too. Yeah.
Joseph, thank you.
Yeah. How you doing, Trip? I'm good.
So, as mentioned by those we talked to at the demonstration, the Ashland City Council did actually address the issue of homelessness at their business meeting on Tuesday, the 19th. At the meeting, they discussed various options for funding, locations, and staffing for a potential urban campground here within city limits. Now, the Ashland City Council, or Ashland in general, has applied for state funding, $300,000, which can be used to build pallet shelters and staff one of these urban campgrounds, kind of similar to the one that we checked out with Pastor Lee Gregory on our bus ride with him. Now, this $300,000 would be used for hiring members of Rogue Retreat to man the campground and would last for 5 months as a pilot program. We'll find out if the funding has been received sometime in mid-February, but in the meantime, the City Council asked that city staff begin pursuing potential options for locations on city property where such a campground could be placed.
As far as I'm concerned, we all must abide by the law, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Sleep is necessary to life, and I have no legal nor lawful option to sleep. The prohibited camping ordinance is that no person shall camp in any area upon any sidewalk, alley, street, lane, public right-of-way, or any other publicly owned property or under any bridge or viaduct, unless otherwise specifically authorized by this code, by the owner of the property, or by emergency declaration under AMC 262-030. And that would be a declaration by the city administrator, which is currently listening. The parking structure downtown is completely usable, and the city the city of Ashland, i.e. you, the representatives of the city of Ashland, are the owners of that property. So you could actually give permission tonight. So that's what I'm talking to you guys about, is the fact that our constitutions, your actual powers and the limits of your powers are: the city shall have all powers which the constitutions, statutes, and common law of the United States and the state expressly or implicitly and impliedly grant or allow municipalities, as fully as though this charter specifically enumerated each of those powers, as well as all powers not inconsistent with the foregoing. And in addition thereto, shall possess all powers hereinafter specifically granted. All the authority thereof shall have perpetual succession. Charging my sleep exceeds your power, period. So I am actually asking, because of this talks and everything that you're doing to handle part of it, that you actually have an emergency city council meeting to discuss the parameters of your power and whether or not you have the authority to enforce prohibited camping in any form. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about.
Thank you, Mr. Appreciate it. We have to limit the number of minutes.
One more thing to share before we go. This video was forwarded to me by Chris, one of the activists we talked to at Monday's demonstration, and it depicts what Joseph Gibson found when he woke up on Friday morning. Somebody had poured oil or some kind of gross, brothy substance all over his tent and stuff. This is actually the second time something like this has happened to Joseph while he's demonstrating, so clearly somebody has taken issue with his recent activities. The topic of housing in the Rogue Valley is one that's never done, so we'll keep tabs on it and keep bringing you information on it whenever something new comes available. But for now, I think that'll do it for this episode of Us As We Are. Before I go, I do of course want to mention that we have a Patreon page, so if you like what we do here and want to see more of it and help us do it even better, we would really appreciate your support. For this week, we have Adam and Amy E. Van Hook to thank for their donations of $10 a month, and we also just of course want to thank all of our other patrons. Anyway, folks, I've been Keegan Van Hook. This is Us As We Are. Oh, if you liked this video, like it. If you want to see more Us As We Are and other documentary content, go ahead and subscribe and ring the notification bell. With that, I've been Keegan Van Hook. This is Us As We Are, and we'll see you in the next one.